on
We're
it.
gonna go far beyond. What's the fucking My Hero?
We're gonna go where no man has gone before.
Plus old.
Plus
To infinity and
Ultra.
beyond.
Go beyond plus ultra. We're all gonna be saying that. Like, okay, hold up. The real topic here is, what's gonna be the drinking game of AX 2019, man? Because last year, I played the worst game that you could do at AX. I didn't do myself the right favor. The drinking game was every time you see a 0-2 cosplay, you take a shot. By the time I literally walked into AX, I was dead. I was like so dead. I was like, bro, I'm already half done. Like, I can't carry
The
on anymore.
joke's on you. You should have closed your eyes at some point.
I know, but no, I said I was gonna do it. I said, you know what? If I see a cosplayer with 0-2, I'm taking a shot, and I took a shot, and I was like, bro, that I was taking so many shots. By the end of the day, I was on my knees. So I'm curious.
Wait. So we're live, right? And people can hear us.
Yeah, people can hear us. That's just how we do it.
What's
Oh,
good,
you made
everybody? Welcome to the Smash Talk podcast. We're bringing yet again another episode. This is episode number 2, and we've got the usual gang: Lux, Vance, myself, and we got 2GG's own Strides as a replacement for Sedge this week since he's sick.
He's sick.
Yeah.
I like how thematically though the picture that
nasty.
they have in his place, it looks like Sedge's master plan is to bring Strides into the fold. He's like ready to go.
Yeah,
And
you
Strides
could
is
tell.
like, why am I here?
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you, man. Strides' face is just perfectly like Champ said it had to be here. Alright, hold on, let me fix it. I kind of like want to get the whole image in there, but you know what? It's all good. It'll cut into Lux a little bit, but it's just now it's fine.
No, one needs to see me anyway. It's all good.
Alright.
You're doing the world a favor. We're all right.
I'm doing the world a favor. All right, we're trying to do
Yeah.
this a little professional. All right, anyways, so how have you guys all been, man? I mean, we're all approaching. First of all, since we last left off, we apologize for no show for a while. Of course, there was a lot of things going on. Father's Day weekend for a lot of us. Obviously, I hope you guys all had a good one on your Father's Day weekend. To all of you out there, the E3 conference, that definitely was one thing that we also saw. I mean, we're all hyped up for new characters. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
big news all around.
Hero and Banjo, and that's just the Smash stuff. Everything. In
Hey,
that
don't forget
direct was
Kazooie.
awesome.
Kazooie's important too.
Yeah.
You said Banjo.
Kazooie's the most important part. You're right, though. I just say Banjo, and like I assume people will know Kazooie is part, like part of the
part of the duo.
part of the duo.
Yeah, he's part of like everybody remembers the dog, nobody remembers the duck. All right, well, I mean, it's been a minute. I mean, did you guys before we jump into our topics, man? I mean, did you guys like the E3 presentation? I honestly thought E3 was bland this year for me. It was like I just thought it wasn't that great. I was like I sat through so many presentations. A lot of them, honestly, were just CGI trailers. And the only two things this E3 that like had me going was like the Nintendo press conference. Well, obviously it's just the Nintendo Direct, and the Nintendo Direct, and like Square Enix, and that's it. Everything else to me E3 sucked. Like,
Keanu though.
yeah, a lot of Keanu Reeves, a lot of Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves is everywhere. Well, I mean, this E3 was really kind of lackluster in a way. Like anything that was exciting for people, I think, was stuff that was already announced, like previous E3 or even just like months ago via individual conferences. But
Yeah,
there was nothing really like too new, or maybe there was. At the same time, I also didn't really pay attention because I just don't care. Like I wasn't at E3 physically myself. I just didn't care. But all the Nintendo stuff was great. Yeah, I can see Ketchup in the chat saying Luigi's Mansion was awesome. I saw that playthrough in the Treehouse as well, and that game looks sick. I'm excited for No More Heroes 3 personally. That was my biggest surprise from the direct for me.
Yeah, everything was basically like Square Enix and Nintendo, honestly.
Yep.
There was not that many other interesting things about E3. It kind of sucked, but oh well, it is what it is.
They put out Breath of the Wild too, and that was a wrap.
yeah. For me, that's literally like that's what it was for me. Like Nintendo said, like, do you want us to win E3 again? Okay, fine. Here's Breath of the Wild 2. We'll win E3 another year. Don't worry about it. We got it set up. I mean, that was the thing though. I think right now where like games are at a point, it's like there's no point in them trying to give you gameplay trailers because everybody's working on like the Microsoft, they talked about how like Microsoft is gonna do Project Scarlet. They announced that it's like, oh yeah, Project Scarlet is the next Xbox, right? Sony was a no-show at E3. They pretty much said like, hey, everything we have to talk about, it's already coming out. You guys already know Death Stranding. You guys already know The Last of Us Chapter 2. You guys already know like so much. It's like there's literally almost no point in us being here. So Sony just took the high road and said, hey man, we'll see y'all next year, peace. Right before even the whole thing started. So I think like E3 was that lackluster for the purpose of like, oh, there's new console generation coming out next year. So what's the point of us all like giving everybody like gameplay trailers when, yeah, I wanted to see more Halo Infinite gameplay trailer, but like all I got was a cutscene that confused me for an hour.
Yeah, that was yeah. I don't
It's a
know.
very
that was
Halo
weird.
thing to do.
Yeah, it was like, all right, cool. Like, okay, I get it. Final Fantasy VII was like honestly a winner of the show, which by the way, for all of you guys watching, there's a lot of like hullabaloo about it. It's only the first part of the game, so there's been some confusion that it is the full game, and they're just showing off the first part of the game just to like tell people like, oh yeah, this is the beginning of the game, without getting into spoiler stuff. It turns out Final Fantasy Remake is only the first disc of the game. That's what you're getting. Yeah, it's only the first disc, so it's only going to be disc 1.
And then it's DLC, like. Dead.
Yeah,
No, I guess like yeah, the stream crashed for some odd reason, so I apologize. I guess it crashed with me. My Wi-Fi is I don't even have Wi-Fi. I'm using like wired, so it's kind of weird that it crashed like that.
sometimes it just happens, man. It'd be like that.
It really do be like that sometimes. But anyways, like Lex
It
said,
would
we've
not
been,
be true to form if we didn't have a technical difficulty like my microphone last time. So just gotta keep the tradition rolling.
that is true. That is true.
Technical difficulty.
All right. So it looks like we're back and live, and people can see us on the screen. Yes, indeed. So we were just talking about E3, which was the week prior, obviously,
Mhm.
but we're gonna talk about some more recent topics. Actually, just this weekend, really didn't even come to an end until a few hours ago when 8-Bit Man won the 2GG Ohio tournament, and that's what was the center of conversation throughout this weekend, man. More 2GG flaming. How could you not love it, dude? Like,
Yay,
whew,
my favorite.
lots of misunderstandings going around, lots of miscommunication. So
Yeah.
we're gonna try to get to the root of what actually happened. But yeah, man. I mean, it's so basically what happened is this weekend 2GG hosted a tournament in Ohio, and there was some issues with the venue. It was really small. People were complaining on Twitter that it was in the center of a mall, and there wasn't a lot of room for people. The people of Ohio felt that they were disrespected by 2GG, this monstrous org that just doesn't hates everyone but SoCal. That's like how else can I really put it? That seems to be what the perception of everyone outside of SoCal is, according or for 2GG anyways. But it we know a little bit more personally, and Strides himself works as part of the org, but we know personally from working alongside 2GG that these guys aren't these monsters that everyone else wants to make them out to be. However, they aren't perfect, and they are human just like the rest of us, and will come across errors, make mistakes, and sometimes it's all up to other like it's all in the hands of other people. So what happened this weekend was someone else who was a third party led 2GG to believe that they had all these resources that were never actually presented to them. And then once the tournament actually came to fruition, all the fault fell on 2GG because nobody else knew about this third party, so who else were they going to blame? But I think the best person here to like maybe tell us a little bit more about that would be Strides himself, since he's part of the org.
Yeah.
Um,
Strides, what can you tell us?
Turn up the
what
heat.
are you allowed
The
to say?
seat warmers are going up. The fires are.
Yeah. Well,
getting-
what can you tell us, Strides? Please do tell.
Right.
Bri-
So there seems to be a misunderstanding. I wasn't there. I know like just as much as everyone else knows, honestly. Like I wasn't really involved with the organization or like really anything that happened there. So I can't really tell you anything like inside information. I just know that yeah, there's like a third party apparently, and there was a contract to use this specific venue, so they had to use that venue. But there was like way more things promised than were actually given. And then when none of those things fell through, everyone just kind of got upset, which I guess is fair because they had to pay. You know, I guess like it was like what $30-$40 venue.
$30. Yeah,
venue,
$30 venue.
Yeah, and it's 2 days, so if you're traveling from far away, you have to like get a hotel, so that's extra expenses. So yeah, I can understand people being upset, but yeah, so you know that happened, and yeah, it's just another case of like a lot of miscommunication. But
I, I'm thinking about it too. Like, I can understand why there'd be a little, um, excuse me, feelings of upsetness from the Midwest. Just because Strides and I were actually reminiscing a little bit, in the pre-show. Ohio actually has a pretty long and renowned history of tournament organizers dating back all the way into before 2010 for sure. Because we were like just going through our heads of TOs from that area, Kel, Overswarm, Duo, Klaus Sui, Alpha Zealot from Smashboards fame. So they have like a long history of having these really good productions of esports event. And I can imagine an Ohio person that's kind of used to a certain quality of tournament just being the legacy of that area, as well as kind of the legacy of the hype machine that 2G Gaming brings to events in SoCal, and then coming down the escalator and seeing just the the mall kiosk setup that they were given for the $30 venue. I empathize with some of those feelings of you know just maybe feeling a little slighted, or maybe not disrespected but slighted just a little bit, just based off what the expectations were. But at the same time, are those expectations really fair coming in for a tournament?
For sure.
Yeah.
And you said it yourself. I mean, it's all about the expectations, like what people expected from 2GG, and they are so used to seeing these like high quality, top level productions that are happening on the West Coast. Something that I feel like people in other regions who don't have or I should say, don't quite have the resources yet to put on events of the like themselves, look at 2GG and possibly kind of, are resentful of it, or not necessarily resentful, but look at it as something they wish they could have. And so when it's very easy to kind of get caught up in it and think like, oh, like 2GG is this high and mighty org, like, and they come out here and they do their SoCal events so well, but like why are our events like trash? It's because they must, they don't even care, they don't even try, when in reality it's like a group of 10 people who all have like day jobs and are just actually community members who are doing a solid for the Smash community.
Yeah.
And when an event happens in SoCal, it's much easier for 2GG to actually make stuff happen because this is their home region. They already have their venues on. Like, we go to the same venue for MSM, for all of the monthlies and majors. Like, we have the same venue on lock. Like, they already have all their partners, they have their connections. Like, they don't have to last minute scramble to find a new location for an event, which is something that happened actually after the events of day one in Ohio. 2GG members last minute actually managed to get a party hall in a Dave & Buster's to actually run top 32 of the event for the second day.
Yeah.
So
Can you imagine how much that costs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get that rolled out.
Especially like, especially last minute too.
Yeah, exactly. Last minute accommodations that 2GG isn't obligated to do, frankly, because they had contracts with this third party who is unnamed, unknown to this point, who basically like lied through their teeth to 2GG and everyone else involved. And you know, only the person who's in that spotlight is gonna actually get any blame, and in this case it was 2GG.
Which is like which when it comes down to it, like we saw a lot of Twitlongers. One of them from Dibs. The other one was like his Twitlonger was kind of like a good TLDR. Definitely find him on his Twitter at Sam Moore Music. He talks about the situation in his Twitlonger. Sums it up really nicely. There's also Chaz. He had one at Lunic TMM. That's another one there. Reading the Twitlongers from my perspective, what seemed to happen was, the best way I can explain it to anybody like this. For me and Lux have a business background, so like we understand this model. A company that you sign up for, let's say you buy an airplane flight and you want a cheap flight to Japan, and you happen to find this website that's offering you the flight for $300 on Expedia.com. Expedia.com is not 100% part of the airline that you bought from. It's definitely like one of those things that you buy, and then they are a third party that works with that airline to buy that ticket seat, and then in turn you get it. So to my understanding, what ended up happening was Champ spoke to somebody, just in general, 2GG spoke to somebody who was a third party who was willing to help them work out with a venue that seemed very, very promising. Because, like I said, people are so used. Well, it's like we all said, people are so accustomed to that high level production quality of an esports event. They see it all the time. As a matter of fact, a lot of the big viewerships see that huge production in esport quality. A lot of them do, especially when it comes to Smash tournaments. So what ended up seeming like it was a big deal and a good venue ended up coming out really, really sour. And the person to blame wasn't 2GG as a whole. It was the third party that approached them, or more to say, a second party that spoke to the third party to the venue, and the second party lied to them. And then that's where it all seemed to take place. It was a lie that was sold to 2GG in hopes of them, okay, fine. You're like, this sounds like a pretty good deal. Let's go ahead and the production quality is going to be pretty good, right? It's going to look like people are going to be in an arena or whatever. And then that's where things went sour. And that's where the second party, from what Dibs' Twitlonger happened to talk about, the second party just ran away. The minute something hit the fan, they just dipped, and then they said, I did my job, I did my duty, I'm out, and then never to be seen or heard from at all as of today. And I mean, it happens, it's a business. Sometimes you go to 2GG does things in the business of the benefit of the people. They don't go to business to make a profit. I don't think they do that, and I think it's evident to a lot of people. Like, they're not a for-profit business, because then if they were a for-profit business, we'd be in a very different SoCal would be in a very different area. But I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, I wanna like re-emphasize the fact that, well, people have this expectation of 2GG, and Root New in the chat. I see what you're saying, and I'm actually gonna get to that. But people have this perception of 2GG being this like very big org, right? Like an actual esports org, a company, somewhat like Esports Arena or like Thunder Studios, who have like backers and
that investment money from China, man.
Exactly.
China money, dude. Chinese money.
That's the perception that people have of 2GG, and that have that perception because 2GG carries themselves so well and presents themselves so well outwardly to the community, and that's all they see on stream, but they don't actually know who the people behind 2GG are.
They have that JMX money, and that's not able to compete with that the Chinese investor money.
That's the thing though. Like Edmund's saying, a lot of people think that they have huge investment money, when in reality, like, it like I, you know, it comes out of the pockets of like people, you know, and everything that it's an ecosystem. Like an organization is kind of an ecosystem. What you get in is what you return back, and vice versa. You know, that's what I try to tell people. I think what really gave them the prestige, and it's not their fault. You know, this is how it goes, right? Was, you know, we all remember the ESA days. We all remember when MSM was at ESA, when every saga was at ESA. People were so accustomed to that level of quality that when they're given something short of it, right? Like if you're so accustomed to the latest Android and then the next Android is a rehash of the Android 3, you're gonna be like, what the hell is this? You know, like I've been getting the latest Androids for years, and now Android is selling me Android 4 again. Why? I don't want this. Like, but go ahead, Edmund. I'm sorry.
They were not around for the 2GG days of Gardena venue with no bathroom. I'm like, champ,
yeah.
you need to get a bathroom for a venue, or I'm quitting.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
out, kind of. Back in those days. But let me posit something to you guys, and let's kind of mull this one over, because I see a lot of the complaints coming out of Ohio is that despite the ambitions and intent of the Grand Tour, which is to, you know, bring interest and exposure to these local scenes, there seems to be a disconnect between actually connecting with the stakeholders in that local scene. Like we saw the South Carolina, North Carolina incident that might have been, you know, avoided if there's better reach out in that area. In the same way that there was probably, you know, if some guy from Ohio is offering you, you know, from Columbus Esports Ohio or whatever that organization is offering you something that seems too good to be true, maybe it merits a little bit better vetting throughout the, you know, as a process for establishing these events.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it might be better for 2GG, in order to help prevent this from happening, to kind of take a look at their vetting system and maybe making, you know, how they move forward with the next Grand Tour event a little more public. So it's kind of like, you know, people know who the players that are involved. So if it becomes a red flag, it's something that can kind of be alerted to and addressed a month or 2 months or 3 months in advance, rather than, you know, the day of the event without everything burning down to the ground around you.
Yeah, it's for sure like a thing that I tell people. Transparency is kind of hard, and a lot of people ask for it, and it's also like a legal deal. You know, it's hard to be transparent when you sign a contract that kind of want you to, like, you know, keep things under wraps, keep things quiet. Everything is kind of give and take, go as you learn, because in reality, this is something that hasn't really been done in a minute. Like an actual, well, first of all, I don't think, I mean, Strides, you could probably tell us in a minute, but like, I don't know if it's a circuit. You know, it's not being said it's a circuit. It's just a world tour, and it's kind of in hopes of bringing the same feel of whatever is the Capcom Pro Tour, the Tekken Tour, whatever you want to call it, all those other tours, and bring it into Smash, which is something that hasn't been done in a while. As a matter of fact, like, we had a circuit in SoCal that brought attention to SoCal for sure, and that was, you know, the TGTs, but that wasn't like, you know, everywhere where like the Capcom Pro Tour. They'll have one in, per se, the which one, Stuntfest in France. That was the Capcom Pro Tour event. So people in France had a chance to highlight that scene, and they were able to just go ahead and put them to work with, I'm pretty sure, France's TOs, and of course Capcom is a big company, Red Bull Esports is a big company, so they're probably able to fly people over there, have representatives, speak to them for a week or whatever, and then do that. And then Stunfest was a Capcom Pro Tour event, and then so it ended up being Combo Breaker, and then other events that highlight the scenes in there. When it comes down to it, what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing is like, it's just a learning process for 2GG. It's like, okay, maybe next time we need to send somebody to represent, like, before we get the next venue, so that we can, you know, see things in person. Because like you, I think like Lex said, and you guys said it too, Edmund, it's easier when you're here, because like Champ and JMX and Strides and Charles, they can all go like together and go check out a venue, speak to the TOs, sit on the table, you know, let's talk, let's get down to business, talk to brass tacks. What do you guys want, and what they'll tell us what you guys want from us, and we'll tell you what we want.
So
right?
I want to bring that back around to actually like 2GG and this current situation, because you talked about this Capcom World Tour and it being a learning process, which is very true. Like, Capcom is already established. They have the connections. like not necessarily, you know, tied down to a single location. They're so big that they can make any like an event happen wherever they want.
Mm-hmm.
But with 2GG, it's not the same. They're a SoCal, you know, nonprofit org, a community organization, and now they're like trying to move out to other regions to, you know, help them out because that's actually something that the other communities, the other communities from other regions have been requesting of 2GG. They've been like, hey, throw a 2GG event here because they see the level of events that we're having in SoCal and they're like, we want some of that. The problem is they don't actually have the resources in other areas. So what 2GG needs to do, and you know, we brought this up. They could have been contacting the local TOs in Ohio, I think, and same thing for the Carolina tournament. I mean, I think there was an attempt at first with like a tweet, but then they didn't actually reach out to any of the TOs, instead opting to like work with this esports organization, which makes sense because some of the local TOs might not be able to like provide the resources that 2GG will need. But at the very least, I think what 2GG can do is establish a liaison in the region that they're trying to host an event. So if they're in Carolina, if they're in Ohio, they can reach out to 2 or 3 TOs to, you know, tell them, hey, we're running an event in your region. We need you guys as the liaison and basically be a part of the 2GG team for this event. And that way, when shit hits the fan, it's not suddenly just 2GG's fault, and not like the Ohio TOs or the Carolina TOs don't just come out of nowhere and be like, yo, F2GG, like they messed up, because at that point it's like also on the Ohio community, also on the Carolina community, because they you know, they had team members who were actually a part of that community. So I definitely think moving forward, like 2GG should definitely take that into consideration, where they should bring someone on to the team, if not permanently. Like I don't expect them to bring them on permanently and make them like 2GG members, but for the sake of that event, for the duration of that event, for the planning process of that event, they should bring someone onto the team and say like, you know, you are 2GG for this event. You are 2GG Ohio division for this event. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would go a long way. With at the very least, if stuff goes wrong, they can't just put the blame on 2GG and make it out to seem like, you know, 2GG is out to get the community, when it's like they're really just trying to help.
And to add to that, like, I do think that that's what they tried to establish with what Dibbs in his TwitLonger talks about. He tried to say that whoever this was, person X was their liaison, and person X was the one thing that ended up screwing this event over altogether. So they had somebody in mind as a liaison, right? It just goes to show, like you said, Edmund, the liaison is a great idea. Unfortunately, the way this ended up being executed with the liaison ended up backfiring horribly, and then it put them, you know, in a little bit under hot water. And unfortunately, like, that's kind of the things that happen when establishing a liaison. I think, like I said, a great idea, solid execution, but when it happened, that liaison was nowhere to be seen, and all they got were upset people and angry tweets. And the only thing they can do is just look within themselves and say, like, well, we gotta do something to make up for it, because whoever we trusted clearly could not have been trusted. Yeah. I'm curious to whoever this person X is, because obviously it had to have been somebody they trusted with the utmost importance. So whoever person X is,
I don't know. I have no idea who it could be, but it really surprises me that this happened, just because Champ's really careful with these types of things. Mm-hmm. So this is like a really big surprise to me.
Yeah,
that this could happen.
I mean, some people are grimy, you know, like you can be an expert in the field, or you could be as careful as you want to be, but you know, someone is out there to screw you over and is really like plotting the entire time, and maybe they're an expert scammer. So like, you know,
for every 2GG in the community, there is one Lux.
Oh
There's
my
one Crime
God.
Lord Lux out there.
Exactly. They got all the skills to screw you over, man.
Well, one thing I want to throw in before, starting to wrap up on the topic, kind of adding on to what you were saying, Edmund. One of the things that the benefit of doing the Grand Tour like this that a lot of people don't talk about is having such a big org come in. Like we say big, figuratively in the context that we just spent a whole 10 minutes establishing 2GG is not a huge org of people, but just a well-known, well-reputed organization coming in. They can kind of play this third-party neutral ground for a lot of the members of the communities that they're going into to kind of rally behind it instead of it being a fractured scene of multiple different tournaments. It gives them an excuse to kind of drop their egos and put together one huge event. So rather than having it be like one liaison, I would suggest doing a multiple person liaison and
Yeah.
have that, have like almost a public application process for people to come in and say, yo, I'm from this region. This is my TO resume. I'd like to discuss, making a Grand Tour event happen. And then you find a couple other the tournament organizers, because we're past the day and age where there's only, one tournament organizer for the entire city. The game's too big for that nowadays. We might as well utilize that problem of having too many locals with too many people and having it, be solved by an outside party coming in and having them all work together.
Yeah,
that's a good
absolutely.
idea.
I definitely agree with that. I, a group of people would be better than just one for sure.
Yeah, I
But
think so too. Sorry, Edwin.
no, yeah. I mean, if anyone has any last words to say on this,
Hopefully,
like,
strides.
do it now, because I think I mean, I think we've pretty much said everything there is to say about the situation. I mean, we weren't actually in Ohio, and the four of us weren't actually in Ohio, and we don't have all the details, but we relayed everything that happened and the information that came up through the grapevines and through the people we know, as best as we could, and gave our input as to how we think things could go better. But yeah, I mean, any last words?
I just want to I want to say something, but I want to hear strides first because I know we kind of like left him quiet the whole time in the middle of the conversation.
No, you guys brought up good points. I couldn't really. I mean, there's not much I can say about it because like I wasn't there, like you said. But I know for sure that the next event will be better because you take situations like this and you just learn from it. So I'm hopeful for that, and I'm glad that in the end the event ran well in the first place. And like, even though it wasn't like what it was supposed to be, for the most part, people that were there, they don't have like that many complaints about it. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, like Deus, who you got like really quick shameless plug into what happened like in April. Deus, who was there for the OC Goodwill event, like he even mentioned it on Twitter, like he's sorry for his tweets, and he's sorry that like this actually is a pretty fun event. Like, yeah, there's no stream and it sucks, you won't gain the clout that comes with it that a lot of these top players are looking for. But like he said, overall in general, like he enjoyed the event. So like Deus even like humbled himself, like I take back my tweets, and I'll be the first one to defend 2GG because they took what was excuse my French, but like they took what was a shitty situation, and they just roll with the punches and make the best of it because that's all you can do in those situations at all in general.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that about wraps it up. And for 5555-ish, who just joined the chat and is asking what the Ohio scenario is.
You'll have to check out the VOD on YouTube.
Exactly. So check out the VOD. It was this whole event that 2GG hosted. There was some mishappenings, and the mishappenings led to a bunch of people on Twitter really, really going in on 2GG. And that actually ties in perfectly to what our next topic is.
Oh wait, before we transform into that topic, I just want to say one thing. My final thought.
Let's take a break in between.
My final thought is, and I know a lot of people are gonna go ahead and say like, oh, they're defending 2G because they work with them. My final thought is any organization that puts themselves out there to do an event like this, because I'm pretty sure this is something that I don't want to name organizations for people to think that I'm going to name them. to bring them down. But any other organization, such as a high level, that wants to do an event like this, or a Grand Tour event, puts themselves at a lot of risk. I want to give a good idea of not to bash them, but people did make this vocal, but it did kind of bring VGBC down a little bit when they did do the 20K pop bonus with Thunder, when people saw that the production wasn't as great. A lot of organizations do take in a lot of risk doing this in their event. VGBC was from the East Coast, who flew to the West Coast to do this event. They took a hit, especially when production ended up being pretty shady in the beginning, and the tournament ended up having a lot of mishaps. I think this brings in, like we talked about the first episode in the podcast, one of the shortcomings of, and one of the difficulties of actually doing a circuit, especially in the Smash community, because we don't have the support of Nintendo, because they're not saying, we're going to go ahead and support CEO officially with $10,000, and then, from then on, other orgs and other teams will follow for a Nintendo World Championship, a proper Nintendo World Championship, like the way people are used to seeing it, and the competitive aspect. I think this just shows one of the things that says this is the first year of Smash, and we already are having problems with the circuit, and it goes to show why, for sure. And that's just my closing comment. That's it.
For sure. I think that's the final closing comment, because I had already final. No one said Pete, but we are going to tie back into our next topic, which is going to be about Twitch chat, toxicity, somewhat of cancel culture, and just general online outrage. But we'll do that after the commercial break. We're going to show you guys a couple of slides. And we have slides today, right, Vance?
Yeah, we have a slide.
Oh.
We have a slide.
We're going to show you a slide, and then we'll come back and start talking about the next topic.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Don't go too far.
Let's go right into the commercial. Okay, when it comes down into the general world of Smash, let's be realistic. There's a lot of websites out there, and there's Smash.gg. Smash.gg may not be enough, but you know what is? SoCal Smash.net. In the world of SoCal, full of many, many tournaments, many locals, many events, there's only one website that wraps it under one nice little umbrella for you to find it, and that is SoCalSmash.net, with the most recent power rankings, event information, and of course the most recent tournament standings, upcoming events. And you know what's best about it? It is iOS and Android home screen friendly. So feel free to add it to your phone to make sure you can keep it locked on to SoCalSmash.net for all your tournament needs and all your local needs here in SoCal, one umbrella. Of course, this is going to be my huge shout out to Maiko, who did come up with the website. Kind of his love letter to the Smash community, because he loves the Smash community that much that he said, you know what, if nobody will do it, so shall I. And because he did it, you can take part in it too. SoCal Smash is your one-stop shop for all information on all SoCal tournaments. And even though I don't have the slide, I would like to take time